What's up, guys? Mason the Brock Henderson here, and this is Iron Fist Season 1, Episode 4, 8 Diagram Dragon Palm. Yeah, these titles are becoming a little bit more obscure. But just on that really fast, it's kind of weird that I'm looking at all of the titles of the episodes this season, and they're all 4 words long. Except for the first one, which was 3. Snow Gives Way. I'm like, what was the point of that then? But, I don't know, it just seemed kind of weird. On to this episode, though. It was good, but there were definitely a few more points where I'm thinking, okay, I have a problem with this. I'm not enjoying this part of the episode. So, let's just go ahead and get through it. We start off with, you've got Danny falling off the building, and he lands on the little light post, and he's not able to pull himself back up for whatever reason, but I guess that grabbing onto it somehow lessened the fall, because it still looked like he had about 30 feet maybe to fall, and so he fell and landed hard on his back, and yet he's fine. So either he has some sort of healing ability, or the little thing that he said, the spirit of Kunlun, or beings of Kunlun, please give me strength, or something like that. That may have had something to do with why he's still alive. But yeah, a normal human being would not survive that fall. Even if it's a little bit less than it was however long ago, it's still like 30 feet easily. So, maybe probably even more than 30 feet. I'm not entirely sure, but it looked way too far to fall and still just be like, I'm okay. But he wakes up in Harold's apartment place, and this is one of the good things about this episode. Getting to see them interact, and Ward interacts with them as well. It kind of shows that they can work together. And it kind of changed the dynamic of all of them, really, in this episode. The first 3 have kind of been Danny's the good guy, Ward and Harold are the bad guys, and Joy is kind of playing both sides. You could see the dark side of her, but you can also see where she has a soft spot for Danny. And so I thought that's the dynamic that was going to pretty much be throughout this entire season. But we kind of see in this episode, Harold accepts him in, and we see a very touching moment where, for the first time, Danny gets recognized as who he is. And so just that in itself, causes him to be like, it's so good to hear you say that. So I like that scene, I like what they did with it, but then on top of that, Harold adds that he wants Ward to make Danny part of the company and give him an office and all of that. And of course, Ward at first is just like, I can't believe this. But he does ultimately go along with it, so we do see Ward is still kind of playing by his dad rules at this point. But he ends up bringing him back, and so they have a press conference, and he's explaining, what happened, and then they ask about the psychiatric hospital, and he says yes, but it's because I went through a traumatic event. They helped me, go through that. And so it kind of makes them look like the good guys in this, which is very interesting. But after that's done, he's trying to talk to Joy about the hand, wanting them to buy the pier. So he's trying to figure out about the pier and what it is and what it means to the company. So he's trying to talk to her, but her assistant says that she has no room in her schedule. I'm guessing because Joy didn't really want to talk to her or talk to him. But then on top of that, we see him talking to Jerry, and she's talking about how he is the majority shareholder, but that. First of all, that doesn't mean that he does anything. It's just he owns most of the company. But on top of that, she wants him to come in and kind of not necessarily force his way in. Try to make it to where these people won't see him as a threat. And this leads to my first problem. That entire scene, when they're talking about the drugs. They're talking about the drugs that they're going to give to these third world countries, or they're going to sell it to people who will give it to the people in the third world countries. And Danny comes in, and what happens next not only goes against what Jerry said, but also before we get to that point, there's just this very uncomfortable scene that doesn't feel like it fits with the tone of the show. The tone of this show has been a little cheesy at times, but for the most part, it's been not really goofy. The fights have been a little bit cheesy. Some of the martial arts stuff is very campy in the old sort of martial arts movies type of way. But overall, the tone of the movie has not been goofy. There's never been a moment where I'm just like, that's a scene that belongs like a Nickelodeon or Disney Channel show. they have one of those scenes in this episode, just out of nowhere. Like, he opens the door really loud while Ward's in the middle of a board meeting, and he's like, sorry, keep going. Grabs a seat and, like, scoots it across the floor really, really loud. Just all the way across the floor. Very uncomfortable, very awkward scene, and then just like, can I sit next to Joy? And so everybody has to move aside so he can scoot his chair up next to Joy. I'm just like, what is this scene? This is not, this just feels totally different. This doesn't feel like what I've been seeing throughout this entire season so far. Through the first 3 episodes, to be fair, but still, like, it feels strange. It feels out of place. It feels like it's a kid's show all of a sudden. And that's definitely not what we've been seeing before. So, I don't know. It seemed like such a strange scene to me. And then on top of that, like I said, he completely goes against what Jerry's advice is. She said, just take it easy. Don't come in and throw your weight around. He comes in, throws his weight around instantly. Ward is talking about this drug that they're going to sell for a profit and try to make a good bit of money off of it. And he's just like, wait, so we're charging however many times what we could possibly be charging for it. We could help people right now at $5 a pill, and we're going to charge 25 or something, however much it was. He's like, that's not right. We should sell it at a cost. And Ward's just like, let me get this straight. You want to use your shareholders, whatever it's called, the majority shareholder something. I can't remember the name of it. So you want to use that now. You want to push this through. He's like, yes, I do. It just seems strange. It's like, what do you think this is going to accomplish? You come in, you do this, people are just going to hate you now. It seems very, very odd that he completely ignored what Jerry said, even though she's been trying to help him through most of this. So then, at that point, Joy, I guess, to get him out of the conference room, is like, let's go have that talk now. And so they end up having a talk. It does bring a little bit of character development on Joy herself, although this could just be something she's saying to kind of get on his good side. But she was saying something about how, she's the one that brought in the bowl that had Danny's fingerprint on it so they could prove it's him. And it was kind of like, well, why would you do that? Because we saw in the last episode there was a moment where she's just like, we don't want you here. And she seemed very antagonizing against him. Well, we come to realize that apparently she looked at herself, she looked at that idea, and I talked about this, how it seemed like she was against Danny coming back because she had worked hard for that job, for everything that they built at that company, and Danny just comes in to take it all, or half of it away from them. I could understand that. I could understand how she doesn't feel that's right, because she worked hard, Danny really didn't have to earn that stuff. And so we see, though, in this episode, she realizes, that's not what it's all about. I looked at who I'd become, and I realized my dad wouldn't be proud of me because of that. So, and it's ironic because her dad would probably be extremely proud of her for that. But we do see a little bit of character development for her. We see why she decided to give the bowl to Jerry to help out Danny's case. And, it's just nice to see kind of an explanation for that, because I was wondering if we were going to find out where the bowl came from, if Danny broke in or if she actually did give them the bowl. And then this leads to the action scene for this episode where they're going back to her place, and all of a sudden these guys attack. And so it's like, who is this? Is this the Hand? What's going on? Well, they pull out all these hatchets, and then we have her fight scene, and like I said, kind of like cheesy martial arts movie type stuff, a lot of slow motion, a lot of flips and kicks and stuff. It's not bad, but compared to realistic fighting in Daredevil, that type of fighting is so much different than what we see here, which actually I kind of prefer. I don't want it to all be so similar, but I do have to wonder when we get to the Defenders, when they bring all these shows together, how are we going to mix this type of fighting with Daredevil's type of fighting, and then you got the brute force of Luke Cage, and then you got Jessica Jones that more it didn't really have a whole lot of fights. It was more just psychological stuff. I don't know, but just watching it, it wasn't bad at all. It was different. So I think it's an acquired taste, and as we get going, I'll probably get used to it a bit more. But it definitely wasn't anything spectacular. There was a lot of slow motion involved, so it seems a lot more fun whenever it's all just really fast paced, fast moving. You gotta quick boom boom boom. So whenever they do the slow motion, it kind of feels like it's slowing down the fight. Now everything doesn't look as real, and it doesn't feel like you're actually seeing them hit each other. It feels like, oh yeah, this is all a show. Um, but ultimately, it leads to he manages to get her out of there and takes her to the dojo. And I'll talk more about Colleen's story in a little bit. But then he finds out about the head guy of this gang that tried to attack her. Finds out that they attacked her because of the pier, and then we have this scene at the end where Harold sees her because the hand had. I guess they appreciated the work he did getting the pier, and so they decide to grant him his request of getting to see Joy. And so he sees Joy has a bruise on her cheek, finds out who did it, and then they go to that gang so that they can kill the guy that hit her. And ultimately, I was a little disappointed by that because whenever the guy stepped out, I'm like, oh, what's about to happen? And pulls out the sword and just whoosh, right on top of his head. I'm like, oh. But then I looked, I'm just like, I've seen worse. Like, I don't know, maybe Walking Dead has spoiled me to head cuts like that, but I was expecting like he really digs in there and you just like see, especially because it's Netflix and they can get away with stuff like that. But no, it was like, and then he falls backwards and then he just slings the blood off the blade, and that was about it. I was a little disappointed by that. I wanted to see a bit more. Especially if you're going to give me that cheesy fight scene that was really slow motion. I want to see an epic death at the end. That was not very epic. That was just kind of like you were shocked for a second and then you realize, oh, it's not that bad. It maybe hit the skull. And then that was about it. But we do see ultimately it was Harold that delivered the final blow. So we see he also is a bit of a fighter. So I'm wondering if there's going to be some point where we see Danny and Harold have to face off. Probably. But I don't know, I'm just making predictions at this point. But it ends for Danny with kind of a mysterious, I guess, story. But he goes to that gang at one point to find out why, and he finds out about the pier, but he also asks about the hand because he tells them why they had to buy the pier. And so he gets this little note at the end of the episode. He opens it up, and it says, here's what you need to know about the pier or whatever, or about the hand. And inside is like this little note, and it has the symbol of what looks like a dragon. And he has his shirt off at the time, and all of a sudden he's got the tattoo of a dragon on his chest, but with wings. The one on the note doesn't have the wings. So I'm kind of curious to see what all that means, and yeah, that definitely intrigues me because I have to wonder what is going on with that. It's definitely one of the more mysterious parts of the show right now because the rest of it is starting to get explained a bit more. We're starting to learn more about motivations, more about all that stuff. But as far as the mysteries are concerned, they really haven't been as intriguing as I thought some of them were going to be, like in the first episode. But now that we're starting to get into hand a little bit, I feel like now we're going to start getting to more intriguing and interesting stories. I hope. Don't know, but that's what I'm looking forward to. So on to Colleen's story because it's also pretty interesting seeing what she's having to go through. She's going to these cage matches to make money to help her dojo. And so we see at one point she has to fight these two guys, and we just see that side of her. She's got this rage pent up inside that's just really ready to explode at any time. The last episode we saw her take it out on the guy and like completely damage his face. In this one we see kind of the same thing. We see she already knocked out one guy, then the other guy, she breaks his arm, pins him up against the side of the cage and just keeps hitting and hitting and hitting, and blood's just like coming off her knuckles, and it's just blood everywhere. So she really has a lot of rage inside that she can release at any time. And it's kind of interesting seeing that because it looks like from some of the lessons that we saw her teaching at the dojo, it seems like a lot of it is about inner calm. Like the lesson we see this time after she catches them in the middle of watching one of those videos of her, like she's like, all right, now push your ego down, and talks very calmingly, and then they get down on their knees and then bend over onto the floor. So I'm wondering if there's going to be a point, because Danny talked about the inner self as well. It's not about just strengthening what's outside, it's also strengthening what's inside. And so I'm wondering if that's going to become a plot line at some point where we see that rage inside of her, whatever it is. She's got to learn to control that if she truly wants to be the fighter she can be. So Maybe, possibly. It's just another one of my theories that I'm throwing out there. But I like how things are starting to connect a little bit more as far as those two stories are concerned. Because at first I felt like it was just going to be, okay, there's Colleen's story and then there's Danny's story. And they didn't feel like they were going to connect at all. And then later on in the episode, they finally did. And so I hope that they really start to get the main plot for this season going. Because right now it feels like I still don't know what the main plot's going to be. You know, we're 4 episodes in. We know the Hand is going to be involved somehow. But is that it? Is it just going to be Danny taking on the Hand, or is there going to be something else going on with Harold and the other Meachums? I don't know. So hopefully we can get into that pretty soon. Hopefully the fight scenes, I get accustomed to them a bit more. But all in all, I mean, it's still enjoyable. It's still fun. It just hasn't captured me as much as, like, you know, Jessica Jones took a few more episodes than the other two did, but Daredevil and Luke Cage were pretty much gripping from like the second or third episode. This one I'm still not like really into it, but I am enjoying it. It's still fun to watch. So hopefully it gets better. We'll see. But for now, let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below. What did you like and dislike about this episode? Let me know. We can talk about and discuss all that good stuff. Leave a like and subscribe for future Iron Fist reviews, and I'll see you at the next one. Peace out.